Hi everyone, it's Sean from What Up and welcome back to another video. This is going to be my review video for episode 6 of Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show, The Flame of Tar Valon. Now, if you haven't already seen my review videos, I do these in two different parts. So the first part will be spoiler free, so if you haven't seen the episode yet, you don't have to worry about anything. I'll talk about it in a very general sense, give my score, give some thoughts on certain things about it, but I won't talk about the plot or the characters or anything that goes on in it. Then I'll give a spoiler warning. After that, I'll jump right into actual examples and why I said certain things, and we'll talk about the episode in depth. Now, if you're new to the channel and you don't know what I do here, I cover Wheel of Time show news, so anything and everything to do with the Sony and Amazon production, that's what I do here, and I'm putting out a ton of Wheel of Time content right now, usually 1 or 2 videos every single day. So if you like that sort of thing, make sure you click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Alright, so this episode dropped a couple of days ago, and there's been some time. So I've watched it a few times myself, other people have watched it a couple of times, and the fandom is generally split pretty much right down the middle. Everything I've read and seen online has either been people loved it, and it was their favorite episode ever, and it was absolutely amazing, or they hated it, and it was the worst episode ever. There's been very few people in between. I'm one of the in-between ones. And there are a couple, don't get me wrong. Now, if you're like me, let me know in the comments down below why you thought you're a little bit in between in this one. But the score I gave this one was 7 out of 10. And that's a score I've given a couple of the other episodes so far. This is by no stretch of the imagination my favorite episode, but it's not my least favorite either. And we're going to talk about that right now, why. So, first part we'll talk about is the cinematography, how the shots are set up, the settings. So, the outdoor shots, the sets themselves, the costuming, the props. Again, there's not much new to say about this. So far, everything is absolutely top-notch. I'm super impressed with it. Everything looks very pretty, right down to the costumes of the extras in the background, to the streets of Tar Valon, to the White Tower. Everything is beautiful in this episode, just like the other one, so I have no complaints about that whatsoever. Now we're going to get on to the acting. Now, the acting in this episode, again, like every other episode, top-notch. The acting itself, the way the actors and actresses portrayed themselves on screen, phenomenal. I can't see a single fault with the way any of the acting went in this. I really, really liked it. Now, we're going to talk about special effects, VFX. There was some in this episode, and it was handled very, very well. Again, I've said a number of times that I am a huge, huge fan of practical effects, and I hate special effects. I hate CGI. I hate those things. This is beautiful. I mean, like they integrated CGI and visual effects and special effects together in such a way that even though you kind of knew that they were doing it, like so for the use of one power, things like that, it was believable. It didn't look terrible, and in fact, it looked absolutely amazing on the screen. So I found as the season has gone on, the effects have gotten better, at least in my mind anyway. A couple of the earlier episodes, it was pretty shaky, but now what we're seeing is absolutely amazing. At least, I think so. Now we're going to go on to my least favorite part of things to talk about, and this is the editing and the pacing, and that's where it lost all the points. That's where this episode lost all the points for me. So you could tell they shot more for every single episode of The Wheel of Time than is on screen, and that's absolutely normal for any show, not just a fantasy show. However, some of their editing choices, some of the things they've cut and they've left out, baffle me. Absolutely baffle me. An extra 10 or 15 minutes of setup shots, shots that happen afterwards, explanations, things like that, they would have made the world of a difference. Especially in this particular episode, I super liked the episode, but it felt incomplete. It almost felt like I was watching a first draft where they went through and they said, this is what we got. Rather than this is the polished final version that we're going to put out. Now, the pacing itself, all over the place in this one for me. I didn't enjoy it because there were a bunch of times when I knew they were cutting out spots, or they were not explaining certain things, or they're going around certain things. And again, we'll talk about all that in the spoiler section in great detail because there's a lot of good examples I can give on this. And it just bothered me. Like, I watched it 2 or 3 times, and I went back and I'm like, man, they really could have bump this up a whole lot by adding just a few more minutes, a couple of extra shots here and there. Even the way it was cut in some spots, the dialogue seemed a little clunky because they were going to set up an explanation, or like they were going to set up what was happening next, and then it cut to something else almost immediately, and it's almost like the actors and actresses were cut off during the momentum of the scene, and that that's where all this episode lost all of the points for me. Everything else was fantastic, and I mean, the episode was great. The storyline itself was absolutely fantastic. And again, we'll talk about the bits of the storyline and how it changed and why I liked it in the spoiler part. Doesn't have anything to do with the score I gave it, but we will talk about that because that's something you guys like. Now, before we get into the spoiler section, for those of you who have not watched the episode yet, I want to know your thoughts after you watch it. So in the comments down below, come back to the video later on. Let me know what you thought about this particular episode. Again, I know the fandom was pretty decisive in this. I didn't use that word right, did I? They either loved it or hated it. Let me know what you think down below. I know there's going to be a bunch of people saying some not nice things about this. I know there's going to be a bunch of people saying some really nice things about this. Try not to get in arguments in the comments down below. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. But I found not many people are in the middle like me. All right, so now we're going to get into the spoiler section of the video. So if you haven't already seen the episode, spoiler warning. In the next part of the video, we're going to talk about episode 6, The Flame of Tar Valon, in specific terms. I'm going to talk about certain scenes that happened, the plot of it, the character arcs, things that are going on. So if you haven't seen at least the first 6 episodes of Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show, be forewarned, I'm going to ruin some things from all of those. Now, also, I'm going to talk a bit about the books because we're going to talk about the storyline just a bit near the end. So if you haven't read at least the first 2 books, that's The Eye of the World and The Great Hunt, I may spoil some small things from those 2 books, and that's from Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time series. All right, let's get on to the spoiler section. All right, so all bets are off. We're going to talk about the spoiler section now, and we're going to speed through the stuff I really liked. Because there's not a whole lot to say, but I'll give some examples of things that were absolutely fantastic. I want to get to the pacing, the editing, the extra content, the story. That's going to be the meat of the spoiler section today. So as far as the settings, the scenes, the sets, costuming, props, again, nothing but great things to say. Absolutely fantastic. Everything from Swan's tattoos, I mean, wow. Really, really cool looking, to some of the sitters' tattoos in the background that I noticed. The extras costumes, the tower guards costumes, the set for the hall of the tower, their rooms, the fisherwoman's hut, all absolutely fantastic, stunning to see, really, really nice. And then you have Swan's rooms. I paused that on Swan's rooms. I took a screenshot of it, and I just spent probably 20 minutes just looking at stuff in the background because it was so beautiful. They did a really good job. It's very intricate, very visually pleasing. Good for them. I'm super pumped about that. Now we're going to get on to the acting. Again, the acting in this, top-notch. There were a couple of scenes I want to highlight, though. Of course, Swan and Sophie, or Sophie as Swan and Rosamund as Moraine when they're together, and you find out they're lovers for the first time. That scene was truly powerful. Great acting there. I really loved it. But my favorite scene out of the entire episode, the whole thing, there's 2 of them. First one was when Madeline Madden as Egwene and Zoe Robbins as Nynaeve were meeting Sophie as Swan for the very first time, and Swan was telling them, "You're the most powerful channeler we've seen in 1,000 years." The look on Madeline Madden's face, she channeled Egwene perfectly. I guess that's a pun, but yeah, she channeled her perfectly. She just looked pleased as punch with herself. I got Hermione vibes from Harry Potter. She just looked like she was the A student looking for a gold star, and then when they said it was Nynaeve, her face just fell. Like, perfect. Absolutely amazing scene. And then Zoe talking to the Amerlin, you're done blowing smoke up her ass. She channels the character of Nynaeve so well. So happy with that. Second scene I want to talk about is when Moiraine was leaving the Hall of the Tower and she meets Leandrin outside. The look on her face. Someone made a gif out of it on Twitter Time, and it's making the rounds now. And I think the look on her face was this bitch again. Like, just absolutely amazing. The acting was top notch for everyone involved in this episode. Really, really well done. Special effects, VFX, again, in this particular episode, really, really well done. When Moraine was healing Matt from the sickness, or corruption, or whatever you want to call it, from the dagger, that was a visually stunning scene in my mind. The way the power flowed around him, flowed around her. He looked like he was straight out of The Exorcist. The blackness coming out of his mouth, trying to attach himself to Moraine to find another host and then getting forced back into the dagger. Absolutely amazing. Really, really neat. Really well done. Now we're going to talk about the meat of the spoiler section. This is the pacing, the editing, the story. That's what we're going to talk about now. So again, I want to preface this by saying this did not lose any points for the story or changes to the story whatsoever. Still a solid 7 out of 10. I'm quite happy with the episode, but I don't factor in the changes at all in my score. because this is its own thing. It's another turning the wheel. It is an adaptation. It is not the books. All right, so we'll go with that. So pacing and editing. Wow. Again, not super impressed with this. You can tell they filmed a lot more. And in fact, if you look at some of the bonus features, they show some of the deleted scenes which should have made it into the show. For example, when Moiraine was talking to Loyal and they're looking at the map and talking about certain things, talk about the Waygate, like there's explanations on why Loyal should come with them. There's explanations on where they're going and why. Great. Absolutely fantastic if that was put in, but it was cut and then added as bonus material. So again, the pacing, it seemed to be a little all over the place. So they skipped from spot to spot to spot, and it didn't seem like near the end of the episode, especially when Moiraine was standing there in front of the Waygate and people started showing up all on their own, she seemed surprised as they were showing up. There was no lead up to that. There was no, okay, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going, please come, blah, blah, blah. It just kind of happened. And you could tell there were scenes shot that were cut or edited poorly, and things were cut off in such a way that it just didn't make any sense. So, again, lost all its points for pacing and editing. All of it. I really, truly hope they release a showrunner's or director's cut of this show, because I think it would do far better if given more time. Like I said, in the last couple episodes of the review, extra 10 or 15 minutes would have made all the difference in the world. This could have went from a 7 to a 10 very easily, because I loved this episode, if they had added just a little bit more. Now, I have had some people say, well, yeah, you always want more, John. You just want more Wheel of Time. Yes, I do. I love this show. I love the way it looks. I love what they're doing. However, I'm not just talking about my perspective. I'm talking about the perspective of people I speak to. So I speak to a lot of non-readers on a daily basis. I keep in contact with them on purpose. I want to get their take on the show because I know that I have a personal bias. I'm going to love this show no matter what. It's been a big part of my life for 30 years, the book series. I'm excited to see this made no matter what happens. I'm entirely forgiving of a lot of things when it comes to the show just because I like it. That's just the way it is. Non-book readers or people who have zero skin in the game when it comes to the show at all, they'll tell me the truth. And a lot of this is relayed from them, and whether it be through messages on my social media or in person, there's a lot of people that feel the same way about the pacing, the editing. They truly don't understand. Now we're going to talk a bit about the story. Again, this zero bases on my score of 7 out of 10. The story itself, I like the way the story is going. I do. There's some things that I believe need a lot more explanation. For example, the Terra Ingriel that Moiraine used to weave a gateway to go to the Fingers of the Dragon to meet Swan. That is word for word pretty much what it says in the extra source material on the Amazon Prime app. If you go look at it, that opens up a whole can of worms. Now, Matt from the Dusty Wheel and I talked the other day, and there's a lot of things that happen in the book series, especially in the book series, that are from characters' point of view. So they don't know everything. They're not omniscient. They don't know everything. I can't speak to them. I'm not going to use the word, but you know what that $5 word is. They don't know everything that's going on. So when things are explained in the book series, sometimes they're explained poorly or wrong or on purpose wrong because that character is giving the explanation. And what a lot of people seem to be thinking are some of this extra material when they're explaining stuff, maybe it's from a character's point of view. Maybe it's from in-world point of view where perhaps some of it could be wrong. Maybe. But we'll go with it's not. Let's just say it's not. Let's say that she's weaving a gateway. This particular thing lets her go to that one spot with the gateway. None of that was explained at all. The fact that they're going into the ways and they need Loyal to guide them and read the signposts was not explained. There's a lot of different things. Why everyone was going and how everyone was going to show up, not really explained real well. Again, a lot of this stuff either had been cut because I knew some of it had been filmed. And, for example, we do see some of it in the bonus features. Or maybe they needed to film it or pad it just a little bit to make it flow a little bit better. So, all of that being said, I've heard from a number of people, well, if you want explanations or if you want to know things, there's all that extra material. And they are doing a good job of explaining stuff in that. So the Terra Ingriel, for example, is explained. The ways were explained. A lot of the places and what's going on are explained. The One Power is explained. Manetheren was explained. There's a lot of stuff there that was explained really well in the bonus material in this. So if you folks don't look at the bonus material, that's the X-ray stuff during the episode, or the bonus material on the app, the Explore portion of it, there is a lot of really, really good things there. And once the season ends, I'm going to cover all of it, try to break it down into easy to digest chunks and videos here, because there is a ton. But, and this is something that someone told me yesterday, that they've not read the book series. They are enjoying the show. That's not their favorite thing in the world, but they're enjoying the show. They are watching it. And when they started asking me some questions, they said their exact words were, I shouldn't have to ask someone who's read the books about things in the show that I don't understand yet. And granted, we're 6 episodes in. There's a ton of stuff that hasn't been explained yet, but we'll get to it. It's going to happen. There's things that weren't explained in the first episode that we got in second, third, fourth episode, and that's understandable. But things like the Tearing Grail, they had no idea what happened there. Things about the dreams, no idea really what that was about. Things about the ways, why is Loyal there, things like that. That's all explained in the extra material. So I said that. I said, listen, there is all this extra bonus stuff. There's the X-ray things. There's the Explore page. There's all of this extra stuff. All of these resources to you. There's all of these fan sites. There's all of this stuff because when I read the book series, and a lot of other people that were big super fans like me, we relied on a lot of fan resources. So Whatmania back in the day when that was a thing. Drag Him Out during its first inception. Theoryland. News groups and forums back when they were the only way really communicating about the show. We all got together and we talked about things. We made up theories. We did all that stuff. And their response, and this really kind of resonated with me, was I shouldn't have to do extra to understand what's going on in the show. I shouldn't have to go read these things, go on the internet, go on the Explore page. If it's in the show, I should be able to consume it. And that got me thinking. Like, at first I was like, no, I mean, why wouldn't you? It's the Wheel of Time. You want more. And they were like, I just want to watch the show. And then I understood that there are people out there that are watching the show, a lot of them, in fact, that are watching the show because it's a good show, because there's a lot of cool things in it, but they're not super fans. They don't care to go to the Explore page, look at the X-ray trivia, go online, go to resources, watch channels like this that explain things, because that's not what they want to do. They want to sit down, they want to turn their brain off, and they want to watch a show. When I heard that, I went, you know what? I understand now why there's so many people who have never read the books that are disliking the show versus not looking at this material to understand things a bit better. I get that now. So, one of the other complaints I do have about the show is the fact that they're not doing that. Again, they're giving us all this extra stuff, and that's fantastic for people like myself, and probably most of you who watch this channel, because, I mean, you're on YouTube watching stuff about Wheel of Time, you're probably into the X-ray stuff, you're probably into all the extra stuff, and that's great. But for casual viewers who are turning the show on, maybe they're not even watching it Thursday nights, Friday, midnight, whenever it releases, they're not watching it then, maybe they pick it up on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when they have time, they don't really care to dive into the extra stuff, they just, oh, that's the show I'm watching, they turn it on. It's turning them off of the show, which isn't a good thing. I don't know, that's my 2 cents anyway. All right, so let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. And again, I want to say, be nice to each other down there. Last couple videos, there's been some fights in the comments. It's okay not to like the show. It's 100% okay not to like the show. It's 100% okay not to like the direction certain things are going. It's also 100% okay to love and like things about the show. Try to have respectful conversations about it. It's just better that way, because there are good points on both sides. Just so you folks know. I, however, love the show completely, no matter what happens. I mean, the show could be, I don't know, Rosamund Pike sitting there for an hour reading a book, and I would watch it. Because I'm a huge Wheel of Time fan. But not everyone is like that. So let me know what you folks thought about the episode down below in the comments. Also, let me know what you think about the extra material. Do you watch it? Are you watching the X-ray stuff? Are you looking at the Explore page? Are you looking at all these extra things? The bonus extra cut content, like the deleted scenes and things like that? Is that something that you folks are watching to help you better understand the show? Is it something you like, or is it something you didn't even know existed? Give me your thoughts. All right, thank you so much for sticking with me here to the very end. Here's to many more.